Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Bama Standard. We are brought to you, as always, by Oakmont Financial Partners and Workspace Solutions. Right now, hit that like and subscribe button, but also, after the show, go to all of our social media at the Bama Standard on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now a YouTube channel. I'm your host, Justin Riley. With me, as always, is comedy legend Steve Brown from our
Hey, man, who told you to introduce Steve before you introduce me? Hey, that ain't how this works.
Because he got here on time, sir.
Which is a rarity.
I get it. Senior, respect your elder. Senior first. You right. Go ahead.
Hey, man, hey, go on with that beautiful intro. Don't ever cut him off again.
Ever. And the loudmouth of the group and former All-SEC linebacker, Mr. Marvin Constant. And joining us this week, in absence of Stephen M. Smith, who is now married, the host of Teague's Take and newly appointed defensive coordinator of John Paul II High School in Plano, Texas, Mr. J.T. Teague. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man? Hey, hold
on.
Doing? So, you mean to tell me right now, at every moment, Stephen is somewhere having sex?
Probably about
maybe
the fifth time today.
Wow.
Leave blank man alone. That boy,
he ain't shooting blanks, bro.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm gonna tell you. You know, sometimes you can overdo it, and probably Stephen M. probably gonna overdo it, and they're probably gonna come back from their honeymoon, and he's gonna be the one pregnant. You know,
I would say both of them gonna be pregnant.
Quick shout out to Jamie Wilhelm for donating $4.99 in the super chat. He's excited for the show, and so are we. I'm excited.
But turnip green seeds, huh, Justin? He trying to help you cultivate your garden down there in Mississippi.
Hey, man, we're all one family, man, one love.
Down there living off the land, huh?
Hey, man, I still can't get over that our guy is not a virgin anymore, man. I just think he gonna come back with his shirt off. He's going to be cursing everybody out and everything. I'm telling you, he's going to be a changed man.
Might also be dehydrated.
Yeah.
Did you send him a care package of Gatorade?
Hey, man.
Some Pedialyte?
Hey, okay, I tell you what. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and make a wager right now. When Stephen has his son or daughter, his child is going to come out with glasses on. Who want to make a bet?
I was about to say, what size of the frame's going to be?
Binocular size.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Y'all terrible.
Hey, man, shout out to Stephen A, man. Shout out to Stephen A. Go do your thing. Hey, man, I know about marriage, man, how it can be. I know because I was married 3 times. But look, that's beside the point. Just enjoy Stephen M. Enjoy yourself, man. Speaking of Stephen M, man, I'm kind of upset. Bro, I'm upset about some things. You know, Justin, and let's talk about it, man.
I'll touch before we start touching, which I'm sure Stephen is right now. We have a guest in the waiting room. This man is a living legend.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Go ahead.
If there is a Hall of Fame, he pretty much is all of them. Former Alabama All-American, national champion, and All-Pro. The living legend himself, Mr. EJ Jr. What's going on?
I'm blessed. You guys are off the chain. Y'all leave Stephen alone. You know he's sensitive.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Justin, I think you need to work on your professionalism a little bit more because you left out one accolade that everybody knows that you didn't do your research. You said all these great things about EJ, but you didn't say also better than what Marvin Constant was. You should have said that better than Marvin Constant. You didn't say that. I don't know why you didn't say that.
You know, I think we should start the whole show over. You're absolutely right. It just took off the entertainment value.
You didn't got the little Alabama shirt from. You got that Alabama shirt from Love's Truck Stop with a $5 gas purchase, and you feeling yourself today.
Hey Marvin, I got enough gas to go to the next pump.
Shout out to Gucci Tide and the super chat, $2 US. We appreciate you. We're gonna get Stephen M. Smith a care package for that.
Working remote, I don't buy gas. Thank you, Jesus. I might get gas once a month.
working
Hey, you
remote.
know what?
Marvin, are you at a Holiday Inn right now? It looks like
I
the
get it all
curtains
the
from the
time.
Holiday
You
Inn
know,
Express.
he's at a Motel 6. You know that.
They left the light on for him.
EJ, don't, Mr. Junior.
Yeah.
I used to look
They
at
left,
the
they left
picture
the
every
lights on
day.
for you, Marvin. They left the lights on for you. I know you was on to it like the fly
That's
tip.
Now, see, I used to look at your picture every day in the old weight room when I used to work out. So I got
And then you threw darts at him.
nice now.
Yeah.
You looked at the picture and then you threw darts at him when you got a moment. So I understand.
Nah.
But yeah, gentlemen, as Stephen M. Smith is out, he was actually in his absence the object of an attack on Twitter over the weekend. What happened? Well, when the subject of our episode tonight, Mr. Peter Woods, the 5-star defensive tackle right out of the Alabaster in our backyard, he committed to Clemson, and Stephen M. Smith decided to report what had happened. But one of the biggest talking points was the fact that after he made his decision, Peter Woods that is, one of his main reasons for choosing Clemson was he felt that Coach Dabo Swinney related to players more or was better at it than Nick Saban. So he said that he was out of touch. Well, Stephen M. Smith, all he did was ask the question based on what he said to Alabama fans. Is this something that you as fans share? He didn't endorse it. He just asked the question. The next thing you know, the Twitter world exploded. They're ready to cancel him. They're just berating him nonstop for the past 3 or 4 days. Absolutely crazy.
Well, let me say this, man. Those fans who made those comments, it wasn't even about football. Those fans were just waiting to have an excuse to say something belligerent, something crazy, because that's who they are. You know what I'm saying? And me being a professional entertainer, I get it. Like, I've read comments that, about me being on the show or whatever. And honestly, I'm so a fan of Charles Barkley when it comes to fans. F them, because fans are going to be fans. If they don't like something you are doing, or is not going with their ideology, whatever the word is, then
ideology, sir.
Thank you, because I can't get it out. I can't ideology. But the thing is, they turn on you. That's why I'm so much for supporters. I'm for supporters, not fans. I don't do fans, because if you're not in ideology, then hey, they're gonna turn on you. They're gonna say all this other crazy stuff, and you just can't let it get to you. You gotta be like F them and keep it moving and keep doing what you do. Because one thing about it, everybody's not going to be happy with you. And the thing is, that was just a trigger for them to do what they did and be mean and be disrespectful, because it was an opinion. He didn't say that was factual. He was speaking to get talking points and for people to chime in on the article.
Steve.
But one of the things, not to cut you off, people forget that Dabo is an Alabama product.
Exactly.
He came out of the University of Alabama, played for Gene Stallings. I remember when he was a player there. And he took a mentality of Alabama and just took it to Clemson. And he built the program the same way that Coach Bryant did, Coach Stallings did, and now what Nick is doing. So I always call Clemson Alabama East, because of the fact that he took the same program.
Blueprint.
He manifested it, and he won championships there. So there shouldn't really be any hatred. You should really be supporting Dabo just as well, because he's one of our own. See, Saban Kroon went to Mississippi State. People forgot how much he was a player at Alabama, forgot that he was a coach at Alabama, coached 6 back-to-back All-Americans, and he finally got his head coaching job at a school that he should not have even been at. He should have been at the head coach of the University of Alabama. They hired Mike Shula instead. So when we start turning on our own, what are we really doing? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Actually, again, to be honest, I don't ignore the writing on the wall. It also comes down to black and white. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? If somebody from the white media had said that, or somebody from the media who was Caucasian, then they wouldn't have anything to say about it. That's just what it is. This is the time we're living in, where racism is prevalent. Yes, we're all good. We roll tiling together and this and that. But every once in a while, you got some crazy Bama fans who will try to remind us that they are who they are and we are who we are. And that's just what it is. But you know, also, I look at us as Bama fans. I don't give a damn about all that other stuff.
Steve,
I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
The thing you got to realize, though, when probably still going off that Pabst Blue Ribbon and that snuff, they even halfway understand what he was saying. That's the problem. They get out that PBR, maybe they can think straight.
You also got to realize we're living in a generation of fandom and society where people are operating off of hot takes. They're not taking the time to read the articles like Steven's article. They don't really understand the game of football. Let's be honest. They don't really understand the ins and outs of what they're talking about. And if they did, they wouldn't have been making those comments.
Justin, here's the thing. You go trace all the IP addresses back to who we're talking. I guarantee y'all I'm going to go back to Bear Creek Trailer Park down 69 in Tuscaloosa. Man, that's where it comes from them.
A lot of these are kids operating off of hot takes and what they're told is going on.
Because here's the thing about it, Justin. When I said the same things last year that I've been saying this whole time about Pete Golding, I want a real fan, this, that. You're right. I'm not a real fan because I played there. So I know what it takes to be successful. Whereas most of them have no clue other than picking up a remote, turning on the TV and popping a PBR yelling Roll Tide. They don't understand what goes into it. They don't understand the dynamics of the recruiting process. They don't the mental pressures of it. They don't understand how it goes. So if this kid chooses to pick Clemson, that's who he's comfortable with. Because like I told you last week when I was doing the interview, it's two different approaches. Nick's approach is business. Dabo's approach is family. They both get the job done. Hey, you got to let these kids go where they want to go. And if you ask me if I had a kid, where would I send him? I send him to Dabo. Yep, said it.
Hey, but let me say this, Marvin. Let me say this about you too. When you were on your escapade as far as Pete Golding, all of us was on board, but it was so crazy for people to say, you're not a real Bama fan. This dude, Marvin Constant, was in the effing mix. He was a middle linebacker. He was on the field. So why would he not be a Bama? He's beyond a Bama fan. He's a Bama player. That's just like telling me, Mr. EJ, you ain't no Bama fan. This dude is a Bama legend. Why am I saying that? That is so stupid to me. That's stupid because you have an opinion that don't agree with theirs. Because you don't agree with theirs. So now you're not a Bama fan, but you didn't lace them up. You didn't damn near crack your skull for the Crimson Tide. Hurt your knee, did everything, but all of a sudden, your opinion doesn't matter because it doesn't go with theirs. That's BS to me. That's BS.
To add to that, I think people have a big misconception that we're somehow not allowed to question Nick Saban or question Pete Golding or anybody who's in that coaching hierarchy. As fans, we don't question all day long. As players, you definitely can question what you see on the field.
Hold on. Though. I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick. I talk to a lot of kids regularly because I'm always speaking to a lot of these high school kids. And one of the common themes that comes out of talking to these kids, and it's the same reason why I was sending them to Nick. Dabo's culture is family. The coaches want to stay with Dabo. Very rarely do you see a coach leave Dabo. It's stability there. You at Alabama, you're going to have a new coach every year at your position probably. So you don't even get to build that continuity with your coach. Every year, you go over here to Dabo, it's a high probability you're going to have the same coach for them 3-4 years. You'll build those relationships. And in college football, these players thrive on those relationships with their coach. It directly affects their performance.
Well, you know what? I look at it like this too. With Alabama, it's my take is different, and I get what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. Everybody wants family, and everybody wants stability, but at the same time, a lot of these coaches that are coming to Alabama, Coach Saban is reviving their careers and sending them on to do other things, bigger things. That's why it's like that. So it's not like Coach Saban's not a family person. He's family and business from what I've seen. But you got to understand, everybody is still following his blueprint. Whether you like him, love him, hate him, the man is a genius at what he does. He's bringing coaches, renewing their careers Dabo's not doing that. He still got more national championships than Dabo. We'll beat Dabo anytime, anywhere. That's just what it is. Dabo is a product of Bama. Now, if now in the future, if I had to say this, after Saban retires, I personally think Dabo is going to be wearing the crimson and white. That's what I think. That's how I feel about it. So he's going to bring family back to Bama.
Marvin, I want to go back to what you said about the coaching carousel at Alabama. Yes, that's absolutely true. And up until this point, Clemson has had that stability. No one has left. Everybody stay put. Until now, pretty much the whole cupboard is bare except for Dabo and our boy Andrew Zal. And the biggest name out of all that bunch who have left.
Wait, Lemansky's not there?
Is Lemansky still there? Well, Todd Bates, that's a huge loss to them. He's one of the best defensive line coaches in the country and probably the top recruiter in the country. So my question is,
a coordinator.
My question is, with all that departure, how do you still get Peter Woods?
Well, here's the thing. Todd got a promotion. I talk to Todd all the time. So I'm happy to see Todd go to Oklahoma and get this new promotion and get this new role. So, but here's the thing. You didn't see that at Clemson until this last year, until you seen that defensive coordinator take that job at Oklahoma, and a lot of guys left with him. Yes, you did not see that. So, again, they've had a lot of stability there. So you say, why does he still go there? Because the message is still the same. It's still that same dynamic. It's still that same feeling of family.
Well, I think you got to look at what his dad said too. His dad is a pastor in Alabama, and his dad is like best friends with Dabo. They know Dabo. They've been around Dabo for a while. And according to his dad, they've got apparently this super strong spiritual connection. So
that's understandable.
It's easier to go and spend what is going to have to be 3 years with somebody that you've already spent a lot of time with.
Exactly.
The recruiting for Peter Woods didn't start his junior year. The recruiting started when he was like 7. Not saying that he was, saying, "Hey, you're gonna." Yes, but you've known him his whole life. So when it's like the whole stranger danger thing is like, most kids don't get kidnapped by strangers. They get kidnapped by people they know.
Whose kid did you just have?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Hold on, y'all, excuse me. Y'all kids, shut up in there. Kids from down the street, so go ahead.
Real quick, we got a question for the audience for you, EJ. It's Mr. Junior. Question: what do you think? Do you think Coach Bryant would support and approve NIL and the college athletes when you played, even yourself?
Hell no.
Yeah, EJ. Hold on for you.
Are you EJ?
We know it's called.
He asked EJ, not you.
And he tackled better than you too. Anyway,
tell him, EJ, you got your money in the trunk of a Cadillac under the spare tire, huh?
I'm still. Well, I need to go find that Cadillac because I don't remember ever seeing it. But in that day back there, players came to play football. They didn't try to come to be recognized. They didn't come to play for that name on the back because we didn't even have the names on the back until my senior year. You played for that name that was in the front. You wanted to play for a national championship. You wanted to play for an SEC championship, and that was what you came for. Now it's almost because I think they opened a big can of worms with this NIL as well as the transfer portal, because now the kids don't want to compete, and if they don't get their way, there's a different generation now. They want to go where they can get on the field easy. They don't want to earn it. Well, guess what? When they get into corporate America, nobody's going to give them anything.
Exactly.
So all these, with the NIL, it's good to have recognition. Yes, we raised a lot of money from the jerseys and things that we played for, but we also got a scholarship for free for 4 years. And yes, we paid our dues on the field, but that paid off when you left the university and when I got a job. The thing that concerns me about the NIL, you're getting all this money up front. Nobody's teaching these kids how to manage that money. Nobody's telling these kids, are they going to go to class once they receive this money? So now I'm worrying about the APR, which is the academic progress report, or the NCAA going to kick it completely out, because now you don't have a way of monitoring kids who are leaving, getting paid. A kid gets $1 million before he plays one down of football, but you got a kid who's been there 4 years who might be a 3-time All-American, and I'm going like, what? What about your offensive linemen? They aren't in the glamorous positions. They're not going to get the same NIL as your quarterback. So now when I look at Bryce Young, and I'm looking for those guys, with Nick, they're going to block for him. But I'm just saying, after a while, there's going to be dissension amongst the ranks. How do you build camaraderie when this kid has $1 million deal and I'm getting maybe $395 for doing the, putting in the same blood, sweat, and tears? So I really don't think Coach Bryant would approve of it. I think what he would have preferred is to give everybody an allowance, straight across the board. Because what you do for one sport, you have to do for the other sports. And I'm talking about women's basketball, volleyball, swimming, track. You got to be gender equity. So I really think, and Coach Bryant was the athletic director as well as the football coach. And I don't think he really would have approved of it, because it would have created so much turmoil. And then it would have given Alabama and schools like Ohio State, LSU, Southern Cal a lot bigger advantage because of the markets that they're in.
There's one aspect
I think. Saying is nobody's going to want to play right.
Huh?
I say, so what you're saying is nobody's going to want to play right guard anymore.
Well, they can get an endorsement. They used to be a deodorant called Right Guard. I don't know if they even promote that anymore. So they're going to have to come up with some other name, left tackle, right tackle, center.
Right guard is the most underrated position on the field. They don't ever call the right guard name for nothing unless he out there.
Yes, they do. If somebody gets sacked, they call it. Somebody gets sacked.
Or the quarterback
unless they get beat. See, they're gonna highlight the tackles, and they're gonna talk about the tackles protecting. They're gonna talk about the left tackle and the right. And the left guard and how they work together. The right guard is it's the least talked about position on the football.
I'm with you, EJ. I never approved of that NIL stuff or the transfer portal, because again, in the long run, it's going to hurt a lot of people because they got that $1 million. And I'm gonna tell you right now, all these people that's getting this $1 million and this and that before they touch the field, trust me when I tell you, and this is a stern warning, you better save your money. You better save it because trust me, when you get out in the real world and you don't want to compete, you better fall back on that money you made, because you're gonna need it, because nobody's gonna give you anything in the real world. And this is indirectly teaching our young men and women, hey, you don't have to work for it, just have a name. And now we gonna give you this and give you that and all this. But after your collegiate career is over, then what do you do? Now, are you willing to work for or compete for what you really want? What are you gonna do then? Because a lot of them not gonna do it.
My question on that, is even if they start getting these NIL, are they going to start working towards getting the degree? I got all this money. Am I going to put this time and energy to go to class? Do I have to go to class because I'm making money? And now you're looking at this as being a professional athlete, and that's the scary part about the super conferences that are building right now. Are they going to break away from the NCAA? Are they going to be basically another professional team that becomes the minority or the club teams for these NFL teams, because all they're developing are professional athletes? I'm really concerned about how this is going to affect college football.
Because let me play devil's advocate for a second.
It's funny you said that, EJ. I was thinking to myself the other day when I seen this news about these teams out of California breaking rank, and they were talking about the SEC wanted to go to a 20-team league. They're really shaping this thing up to be 2 different divisions and in one league. East versus West or North versus, however they're going to type. But the way these teams are moving, it is really transitioning to where you're going to have conferences playing for it all.
Hey, man, again, before we go on, like I said, we got to ask yourself the question: what can you tell an 18-year-old, 19-year-old who's making millions of dollars? What can you actually tell them? What you're making more than your coach? What can you tell them? It's a business for them now.
Right.
They just want to get
let me play devil's advocate for a second. Because one, I don't think that you're giving these kids enough credit. Because here's what you can tell them: you don't play here anymore. You don't get paid if you don't play here anymore. That's easy. Mm-hmm. Look at Anoma that has been kicked off of 3 different football teams. I don't know where he's at now. So there's the easy solution to that. You don't like how much he's getting paid and he ain't working, then tell him you don't get to wear the jersey. Find somebody else to pay you. Second thing is, I understand the sentiment that people have with NIL, and I wanted to address one of the comments that said that the NIL came about because of Bama fatigue, which I don't think is the case at all. It's the process of Ed O'Bannon suing like 3 times in the Supreme Court, saying, "Hey, you can't just tell people they can't get paid." But one of the things that actually started this was the kicker from UCF, who was doing exactly what we're doing now on YouTube, making some videos, talking, and having nothing to do with, in this case, having nothing to do with UCF at all. He gets suspended from the NCAA because he generated ad revenue from YouTube. And you can't get paid as an athlete then. So my question is, why is that? Why is a kid like that that's doing something using his name, image, and likeness on YouTube, just like we are, that happens to play football at a school, why should they not be able to benefit from whatever revenue they generate?
Okay, let me answer that question.
All right.
That particular incident, that never should have happened. If he is doing his own thing outside of football and he's creating revenue for himself, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that was a thing of control. Mm-hmm. I think that was the first mess up. But as far as anybody else that's just coming to play football just because they want to get paid and not because they really love the sport and they're trying to hustle it and getting paid all these millions of dollars, I don't buy it. I don't buy that transfer portal. I just believe in hard work and competitiveness. That's what football is built on. It's always been like that, and that's just what it is. Hard work, compete, and move on. That's just what it is. And it's teaching our young men to be men. Right now, this what we got going on is teaching them to say, hey, man, any type of adversity I run into, I'm going to quit and go the other way. I'm not going to try to fight through it. That's what it's showing our kids, and they're getting paid for. Well, man, I can't get paid this and somebody else getting paid that, and I'm on the same team. I'm not going to block for them. I'm not. It creates a lot of division. It really does. It's going to literally tear college football teams apart.
I think that happens in some cases with some kids, but I don't think that it is that detrimental across the board, because this is something that I deal with at my job now. I have people that are the same title as me that I may make way more than or way less than. And when somebody calls me and says, hey, we can have you do the same thing over here and we'll pay you a whole bunch of money and the atmosphere is better, you best believe I'm calling my boss and be like, hey, this is what's going on. I might end up going over here, especially if I'm being treated better. But at no point do I ever say, man, forget my team. I'm just not going to do no work until they rectify the situation. That's not what happens. And I think there are some kids that do that. I'm not disagreeing with that. There are some that do that. But I don't think that's the majority.
But you know what you do in that situation? In that situation, you pull a Texas A&M. Just pay every lineman $50,000 a year. That way everybody paid, everybody fed, everybody happy.
Man, that's BS. That's BS. Steve. Hey, man, okay, so Justin, if you don't mind, I got a question that says for Steve.
Yeah,
what about the JMO situation? You want to read? Go ahead, read it, Justin.
This is for you, Steve Brown from Lucian. What about the JMO situation? Full house. Why not try to go elsewhere? Was the transfer portal bad?
You know what? If you're doing it for the right reasons, I understand. This guy went to Bama because he saw the full plan. He saw Ohio State unraveling, and I think that the offense that he wanted to be a part of, he wanted to be featured in the offense. He wasn't featured in the offense, and it's a business decision. Like for instance, if you're playing, Marvin, if you're playing in a defense and the defense is not centered around you, and you know you can be a better playmaker, you're gonna you're gonna try to find a way to make yourself, more noticeable or whatever you want to do, or you're gonna look somewhere else to go. Now, if you're competing, it's the system. Now, if you're competing with somebody and they beat you out, then by golly, stay there and fight for it and beat them out. But if the system is not conducive to your athleticism or whatever you got going on, then of course make that move. I don't have a problem with that. But as far as competing and to do your job and to try to beat out the next person, I'm for that all day. A lot of these people are in the transfer portal because they don't want to compete, and y'all know it.
Absolutely. Now, kind of going back to the Peter Wood situation, EJ, I want to ask you a question first to kind of set up a question for Marvin as far as why he may have left. EJ, in your recruitment, to you was player development from Coach Bryant down.
I'll say that one more time.
Okay. In your recruitment, how important to you was player development from Coach Bryant down to your position coach? I'm asking this to set Marvin up for a question.
At the time when I looked at what it took for me to come to the University of Alabama, I looked in the 3 areas, which was the academics, athletics, and then the social life. Part of the athletics was looking at how all the programs were built, how supportive of the schools were to those programs, how successful were those programs. Because our men's basketball team back in the day and our women's basketball team back in those days were pretty good. Baseball was on the rise. We had great gymnastics has always been good at the University of Alabama. But then when you look at the social life, you have to understand I was at an age where there might have been 10% blacks at the University of Alabama. So, excuse me, player development was basically when you looked at the staff coach at the University of Alabama, there was only one minority coach, and that was Sylvester Croom.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough that Sylvester Croom was my position coach. So he got his start from Coach Bryant giving him a chance to coach, and that was after John Mitchell had left to go on some bigger and better things. But you didn't see other coaches that looked like myself. But Coach Bryant took the time through his coaches. He coached the coaches coached us. He would take time as the head coach for us. I mean, the governor of Alabama could be sitting in his other office. He had 2 offices. And all you had to go and see his secretary, Mary. And within 5 minutes from the time you mentioned that you were there and she talked to Coach Bryant, he would come out and we talk in the other office and spend as much time as we needed. He said, they can wait. I'm here for you. So he was a mentor. He was that father figure. He was that person that when you had issues, you talked to him. And that was a lot to do with my matter of fact, we just had a coaches retreat here at Allen University. And when I was challenged, I became more successful. That's what I got out of it. And now I'm emulating those coaches who challenged me to be better, because everything was to raise my standard of play, raise my standard of competition, raise my knowledge of the game. And that was a constant throughout the 4 years I was there. And you're talking about when Alabama was just beginning to put championships together back to back. And we had guys like Ozzie Newsome. We had Terry Jones, who just retired from being an assistant strength coach for years. He was all those guys basically were mentors when we were still playing. So the seniors kind of mentored us just as much, because they said, this is the expectation. Hey, freshman, you're not going to do this. You aren't going to this place. You ain't hanging out with these people. And it was passed down from us to the next generations, until we left. And that player development basically was within the program. It wasn't, we didn't have a designated person say, well, this is player development like we do now. But, back then, that we were almost our own player development, but it started with Coach Bryant.
Gotcha. You've talked about this pretty much throughout our entire run on the Bama Standard. You mentioned this a little bit earlier. You often talk about Pete Golden's inability to develop players. As a matter of fact, one of your main points that you make is we haven't had a first-round defensive lineman drafted since Quentin Williams. Do you think in your mind that recruits are starting to look at that?
Who is this question for?
You. I said Marvin. I'll give you free reign.
It's crazy how you ask him to answer a question. He'd be like, who is it for? But he jumping on everybody else's question.
Right.
That's that Tourette syndrome kicking in. Go ahead.
Bass backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you are in Mississippi, so you should expect the worst. I mean, at some point, it has to play a role in the recruiting process. Now, we've had the number one recruiting class almost every year up until this past year. So when people say we're young and we're rebuilding, I have to call BS on that. Because if you've had the number one recruiting class for 11, 12 years straight, you should have ample talent stockpiled. Mm-hmm. So it should never be a rebuilding year. It should be plug and play if you got all these 4 and 5 stars. But if you're not able to cultivate those 4 and 5 stars and to get them to reach their full potential, there lies the problem. Because again, hadn't had one in a while, right? When's the last time we had a first round to come out at linebacker?
Yeah, you're right. Hey,
I'm just saying.
But Marvin, I got to say this, man. We have had the number one recruiting class. You're correct. I believe that the reason we hadn't had a first round linebacker or D lineman is because of Pete Golden's system. I believe that. But
it's the same system.
Yeah, I understand that, but let me say this: you saying that this is the first this year we don't have the number one recruiting class. Let's just go back to this other stuff. Why? Because Texas A&M bought their players. Let's just keep that 100. So that's why we're ahead of us. That ain't because of talent, and because we still are the standard. People, if you want to say people are catching up, yes, if they're doing illegal stuff and buying players, that's understandable. But the thing is, man, I think we still are the standard. I think we're going to be better than ever defensively. I think Pete Golden has got it because if you look at the last couple of games we played, he didn't try to call a lot of fancy stuff defensively. We played Bama football. And I think that's what we
have to show on the field. And college kids are young men, 18 to age 22, who feed off their coach's energy. If your coach is over there with it does matter.
Yep.
You feed off your coach's energy when you're on that field. I can 100% tell you that. Because if I looked over there and I seen Jeff Rousey go on 100, we're finna go kick some ass. You 100% feed off.
Now hold on. Don't forget. We did have
Brett Venables. He's another one too. He coached with a lot of
Don't forget, we did have a first-round linebacker or projected first-round linebacker. It just so happened that he tore his ACL his senior year, and he went in the third round. We got probably 2 first-round defensive linemen right now, possibly a third. So let's not say we ain't got none.
You're talking all hypothetical.
Okay, so tell.
It's hypothetical.
Okay, so tell me our defensive ends aren't first-round talents.
Change the fact that our defensive draft pick stocks have been doing this.
Hey man, he got a point. Both of our defensive ends are first round talents as the linebackers.
What year are they?
Has nothing to do with
so now he don't have nothing to do with it. Even though you are twisting things to fit narratives now. No, you're doing exactly what people do on Twitter. If he has 2 first rounders next year, it ain't had nothing to do with him.
Hold on, EJ got something to say. Hold on, Marvin.
Hey, let the legend speak.
One of the things you have to look at is the defense that Alabama has. When they lose guys, they usually lose them after their junior and their senior year. So in Alabama, like you said, plug and play. That's just basically reloading. So those guys who are in the background are stepping up to. But guess what? Most of those guys are young pups. They are becoming battle tested. You don't see a lot of freshmen that just jump in an Alabama defense and play.
So you have the same thing for the past 3 years.
Let's go back to the true basics.
Same thing for 3 years straight.
Marvin, who's the defense belong to? Really?
Nick Saban.
But here's the thing.
So you got to one of the things. I'm gonna say this because I'm going to be coordinator and a head coach.
For that, who's responsible for that preparation during the week?
Mark, I get it, the preparation, but it's still the head coach's system. Nobody knows that system better than Nick. He coaches, and then when you look at, you get a defensive coordinator that you bring in, and you're teaching him. He wants to run it his way because when I became the head coach of Central State, my D coordinator had to learn my system. I knew it a lot better than him. I let him call it, and I would go, I don't know about that. But I had to constantly be with him to develop those guys to run my system. And then when those guys leave, guess what? You got to develop other guys in and play. That don't happen overnight. Because I guarantee you,
so what position
did Nick coach? You look at when the most successful positions that Alabama has most of the time are the DBs. Why? Because Nick was a DB coach. Okay, so when you look at the linebacker coaches, you lose coaches from Alabama constantly. Be it the linebacker coach, be the D coordinator could be the same, but you got different position coaches coming in and out, and that's all those parts. And you know just as good as anybody, you're only as good as that guy who's coaching you. And you have that guy who learn your system. Learning Nick Saban's defense is not the easiest thing to do. You don't just jump in there and play Nick's defense. You got to understand the nuances.
So what you're saying
you got to understand the text. You got to understand everything have a counter to it. And sometimes Nick has to go back and look and say, okay, let's look at what we need to do. How can we get better prepared? And teams are catching up to what Alabama's doing. Okay, we know that the biggest weakness to Alabama's defense, they have always struggled with a quarterback who can run and throw. That's always been the nemesis. Why? Because you don't usually count the quarterback in your defensive system. Now these quarterbacks who run, like you think about Ole Miss quarterback gave us help. When you look at Texas A&M, when they had
Menzel.
all those guys who would come back and give Alabama him, they could run, they could throw. So now you have to develop a system in the system to be able to stop that. And that's the major weakness that Alabama has. Because if you got a pocket passer, Alabama's going to go after him because they know where he's going to be. But a joker who can pull it down and run or run the option is a threat to that defense because you never take him in consideration in the numbers that you're producing on that defense.
EJ, you know what? I want to say
we
this.
lost to Texas A&M. Hold on. We lost to Texas A&M with a backup quarterback. He wasn't running nowhere with two freshman offensive linemen.
Marvin.
I'm just saying. So if Pete Go didn't work for you, what you saying, Mr. Junior, he would be sleeping on your offensive floor because you would be in there every day.
No, but see, Marvin, Marvin, I get what EJ's saying too.
I get what he's saying.
Alabama is constantly getting these.
Hold on.
Go ahead, bro.
It's a complex defense. And the way the game has changed and evolved offensively, defenses have to constantly evolve as well. Because the way they're running these 4 and 5 wide receiver spread offenses, it's like run and shoot basketball. It is hard to stop. I know that. So, but at the same time, why do your players look confused? That's been my whole thing.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you why.
Hurry up defense. I mean, the biggest weakness of Alabama's defense, didn't mean to cut you off, Steve, is that the teams who have been having success against Alabama recently run hurry-up defenses because you got to make checks and adjustment to any kind of formation, any kind of alignment, and you got to communicate that. And if you're not communicating it fast enough, guess what? If the corner don't get the call, there's the weakness in the defense. If that safety behind you doesn't get the call, there's a weakness in the defense because everybody has to be on the same page and get that call. And you're talking about in front of 100,000 people under a pressure situation. You're talking about young kids who have to constantly go
on the road.
It's crazy, man.
That's when they performed the worst, was on the road in a hostile environment.
You know what? Hold on.
But EJ said something. Tell you this. When we played Florida, they would come out in their 4 or 5 wide receiver sets, and they would run the hurry up back then. And Ellis knew that. So what would Ellis do? We would always have 3 calls that we went on that field with. And if they went to a hurry up, whatever they did, depending on the formation that they came out in, we knew which defense we had to run automatically before the ball was even snapped anyway. So we didn't.
Okay, but Marvin.
Oh, but you didn't play for Saban though, did you?
Right, no. Okay.
No, but Ellis Johnson.
Oh, so it's a different defense, huh?
This is what I'm saying, though.
Right. Okay, so
Ellis Johnson was smart enough to know that he needed to send us out there with a loaded call. So when stuff like that did happen, we wouldn't have to spend all this time thinking, trying, instead we can know we're supposed to try to figure out what it is we're doing.
I don't think you get what EJ was saying though. I think listen.
I get what he's saying.
No. Listen. Let me finish. Okay, you got the D coordinator. Think about it. Alabama's having all of these defensive coaches coming through, not staying. the defensive coaches are getting the assignment, but they are also teaching it the way they want to teach it. Does that make sense, EJ? So now everything is not coinciding together. It's not together. So but the defensive coordinator is taking the hit because it's his defense. Mm-hmm. He might have a linebacker coach 1 month. The next month he got a new one teaching the same concept a different way, confusing the kids. So you got to look at
he's
all
not gonna have
stuff.
A new coach every month. That ain't how that works.
No, I'm not. I'm giving you an example, bro. I'm giving an example. What I'm saying is, you can have this one coach, this linebackers coach. You had 1 year. You've got his way of teaching things, and then you've adapted to that. Then next thing you know, here comes another linebacker coach teaching you the same thing his way. So it's a lot of confusion, man, and you can't gel like that. That's why I think Alabama defense has been terrible. It hasn't been the Bama Standard, but I can say it has been trending up. It's getting better and better. So that's what I'm looking at. And I think it should be really good this year because everybody's back. So I'm thinking that we're gonna be okay.
I would hope so.
Before time runs out on us, I want to get to another talking point.
Already? Time leaving already?
Well, I want to make sure we get it in. As we talked about earlier, fans' overreaction to losing a 5-star. We're so fixated on the recruiting battle, 4-star, 5-star this. Marquise Mays, who you had on your show a few weeks back, JT, had a pretty powerful statement. I'll read that off. He said, Bama got to start getting back them hungry kids. The 5-stars are cool, but most of them let these so-called recruiting websites F up their head. And a lot don't get no better from high school to college. I've said years ago, F winning recruiting battles. So are we losing out, focusing on just getting 4 and 5 stars? Because we're conveying it to these kids. We're making them instant celebrities before they've done a thing. So do we need to revert back to getting those 2 and 3-star guys out the mud who have the right mentality? EJ, I'm gonna let you start on that, and then we'll circle around.
And that couldn't be said any better, because you give me a kid who's hungry, who wants to prove himself. 5 stars or no stars is when you come into camp. You still got to earn that job. When I came in, I was considered a blue chipper, one of the top linebackers in the country. But guess what? We had 6 All-American linebackers already. We had Barry Krause, we had Dewey Mitchell, we had Rich Wingo, Rick Gillian. We brought in Randy Scott. So we had some dudes playing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come in. I'm going to basically be sitting on the bench because I got to learn how to develop. But when I hit Johnny Davis in the doggone practice one day, that got Coach Bryant's attention. He said, we got to get this kid on the field somewhere. So they moved me to tight end, which was my other spot. I went to strong safety. I went to wide receiver playing behind Ozzie Newsome. I went to tight end, played free safety. But we had guys who were all conference players. So I ended up in running back. But after the Ole Miss and the Nebraska game, I got moved to defensive end because I.M. Hip and Rick Burns torched us. We lost that game 31-24. Well, I ended up being a defensive end, and I got on the field. But I wanted to play to show what I was able to do. But to me, when I recruit guys, I don't care what star you got. I'm trying to see if that dog is going to hunt. Under adverse situations, you can look good. I got a grandson who played at St. Thomas. St. Thomas Aquinas. He's at Michigan now. He was a little fish in a big pond when he went from Cardinal Newman to St. Thomas. Playing at St. Thomas from Cardinal Newman was a whole culture shock to him. He would call me and say, Granddad, these guys are good. I said, yeah, you went from being in a 3A program to a 6A program with Jason Taylor and all of them. They're used to winning. They're playing bigger competition. You got to step up your game. You can't just go out there on talent and think that you're going to play. You got to know what the heck you're doing. These guys come in 5-star, think they're going to get handed a job. And those will be the first one in that transfer portal.
Yeah,
they don't.
That's
it. When they want, I'm gonna go.
That's it.
I'd rather recruit a 2-star and a 3-star or a no star who has some talent, who's hungry to work, who's going to put the time in. Because when he gets that opportunity to play, he ain't gonna let it go, and he's gonna stay faithful because you gave him that chance.
Yeah,
and that matters to me more than anybody. If you give somebody something and they don't earn it, I guarantee you they won't have respect for the position.
All right, show's over. That's it.
Hold on now.
Well, I want to get everybody's take on this. So,
that show's over. I'm out.
JT, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then Steve, then Marvin. I want you to speak last on it, man. I want to hear all your opinions.
Yeah, Marvin might take 5 minutes, so
Yeah.
I understand the sentiment of taking the guy who wants to work and those kind of things. But I think we can't just draw a line in the sand and say, give me the 2-star that works hard versus the 5-star that maybe not work as hard. Because if you do that, your program is Ole Miss, or not Ole Miss, Southern Miss, with all the 2-stars that couldn't make it anywhere else and needs to have a chance and want to play, and they don't ever transfer and they're not very good because they're not very talented. However, just because you have 5 stars does not mean that you aren't hungry.
JT, I'm going to interrupt you. Who determines what star you are?
Exactly.
I see. Now that is where I was going to get next. So that's where I was going to go next.
People who aren't coaches, writers who are watching things.
Thank you.
The stars are just like the points in Whose Line Is It Anyway? There are no rules, and the points don't matter. So when the fans are getting upset about losing an in-state 5-star, for every 5-star, there is another 4-star, 3-star somewhere else that is just as capable, that may have just as high of a ceiling, but some writer somewhere that watched a 5-minute highlight clip didn't see all the things, and there wasn't as much hype behind it. I mean, that's why there is the Bama bump and the Ohio State bump is real. There are 4-star players that as soon as they get that offer, they're like, oh, they must be 5-star players because so-and-so wants them. They count offers sometimes and just give them an extra star, and they may not even be the case. I mean, just like with this, there's a 3-star receiver that we just signed that I thought looked very, very good. I can't remember what his name is, but he's fast. He's a possession receiver. He's got great hands. And if you didn't tell me how many stars he had, it wouldn't even matter. So exactly. I think that the conversation around stars in general is
overrated.
It's overrated. It's fruitless. It's not really worth spending too much time on because at the end of the day, it's just, are you going to show up when you get called on? There are 5 stars. There are some 5 stars that won't. There are some 2 stars that won't. There are some 3 stars that won't. It just depends on the kid. And you have to be a great job as a coaching staff evaluating that talent.
Good call, Ed B. Rashad Johnson and Josh Jacobs, best examples. All right, Steve Brown, your turn.
Hey man, first off, I'm kind of upset that this show is about to wind down. We should go another hour because this is fun. But as far as this 5,
is there a reason that we can't?
Nope.
Yeah, can we keep going?
Yeah, I got things to do, man. I can't be
all right.
We don't need you here no way.
Malibu Marvin's got to plan his next vacation and shoot his next icy hot commercial with Shaq.
All right, so with this 5-star thing, man, JT, I think you hit the nail dead on the head, man, because I mean, you can look at these 5 stars and they're doing all this on YouTube and this and that, but you also got to look at the competition. It's like some of these guys playing high school and they're playing against a middle school. So yeah, you can rack up all these numbers and then the media look at it. Next thing you know, he's a 5-star, get to Bama, and you don't hear from him ever again. That's just what it is. So I'm with EJ. I'll get anybody who's willing to work hard and develop, because believe it or not, some of these 3 stars that y'all speak of who may go to Ole Miss, they could come to a program like Bama and work their asses off and be better than the 5-star you recruited. So
or they could be Garrick Dieter.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, man, I hate this 5-star rating, this and that, people jumping up. And as far as this kid going to Clemson, so be it.
Yeah, who cares?
I can care less. We got who we got. We need to develop who we have. If they are dogs, like Coach EJ said, then they're going to show up. That's just what it is. So go work hard, do your thing, and live up to your name. All this 5-star stuff, I ain't with it. That's just me.
Marvin?
Oh hell, here we go. I know. Look at EJ.
If anybody needs to take a bathroom break, now's the time.
These star ratings mean nothing, because that was my point earlier. if you go back and you look at the statistics, Alabama has had more 4 and 5 stars per position on defense than any other team in the country. But it doesn't translate to the field. So those stars mean absolutely nothing. If the kids can't put in the work once they get there, what's the point? You know, I played with several guys who were supposed to be all world, and we get on the field and we wearing them out day one, and we were like, is this really the best thing you got? You know? So
yeah, I agree. And I also want to know, I want to know a lot of the guys that we have 5 stars on defense, how many of them were rated 5 stars before they got an offer from Alabama?
Right. I mean, that's all valid. But again, when we've had more 4 and 5 stars per position defensively than any other school in the country the last 3 years, why doesn't it translate to the field? So clearly the stars mean nothing. Some of these kids just not hungry. You know, you got to have that want, that desire. You know, if you don't have it, it's not in you.
Hey, Marv, you and I, we went in about this every weekend. One Bama player that got on my nerves so bad, love him now. I mean, he's growing on me. Toa, he's a middle linebacker, had no dog in him. I have yet to see him make a ooh-wee hit. What he does, he drag people down. I've seen, whereas when he make contact with the ball carrier, he's driven at least 3 or 4 yards downfield before he make the tackle. That right there is not traditional Alabama football. That is not 5-star rating to me. If you want to say 5 stars, that shows that you don't have any dog and you just got a name out there. That to me, I've seen that plenty of times. So
I would really like to see those kids who are rated 5 stars coming out of high school. How many of them actually made it to the NFL? And then how many guys who are rated 4-star or 3 stars who made it to the next level? Because that's a true telltale sign. Like I said, I was a blue chipper. I didn't even know what that meant back in the day. You know, they considered me one of the best. I was just grateful to get a chance to go play football and play where I did. But, you know, I got a grandson who was a 3-star. He ended up being a 5-star. I got a son who's a 3-star who's at Cincinnati, who technically is better than my grandson. You know, but they run the same street. Cameron is my son, who runs faster than Jaden, who's the middle backer at Michigan. But when you look at where they played, one played in Florida at a big school, the other one played in Middletown at a school that maybe not have the same recognition, even though Chris Carter and Todd Bell came out of that school, and some other people such as Schreiber, who's hitting a bunch of home runs in Major League Baseball now. But when I look at the talent level, I'm like, one is just as good as the other. Who did they play against? What was their competition when they came out of high school? Because if you're that dog, you know, if you're beating up on small schools, that's not impressive. If you're playing against guys who your competition, who you're equal, and then you get to the next level, you're competing the same way. Okay, yeah, we made a good choice. But if you're a big dog and you're beating up these little kids who are basically, if you're a 6A school beating up on a 1A school, that doesn't show me your talent. You know, one of the things when I judge middle linebackers, can they cover sideline to sideline? Most of the kids that I'm seeing now are blitzing so much, and then some coaches, oh, this kid is a dog, coach. I say, yeah, he can run downhill, but can he play football? Can he read? Can he, you know, decipher what's going on with the defensive reads? Because, yeah, it looks great running downhill, blitzing all the time, but can he play the defense if he wasn't blitzing?
Can you get out of them flats?
You know, I'll tell you one of the best things that Jeff Rousey did for me as a player. He made me learn every personnel group and every play that came off every personnel group. So no matter if it was flush, queens, purple, ace, diamond, no matter what set I seen, I knew what to expect and I knew what to tell everybody else on the field before that ball was snapped. That was one of the best things that man did for me. He taught me the game of football in terms of seeing it from a coach's perspective. And it changed everything because it was no longer they snapped. You see, you got 3 receivers over here. You got this running back who one by one behind this quarterback, that guard and that tackle, they sitting up high. You know they finna run the screen pass. They setting it up. That man taught me everything technical about football.
Wow. Jeff wasn't a bad linebacker himself, though, Marvin. Believe me. He was a linebacker coach when I was there. He followed Paul Crane, who was a center who moved to linebacker. So, I mean, yes, he knows the game. I mean, when you got a teacher who can teach the game and slow it down for the person who's playing that position or playing those positions, because I learned from Sly and I learned from guys in the NFL that says, you want to be an All-American, you want to be an All-Pro, learn your job and everybody else's so you know where everybody is on the field, because you'll never be out of place. So if you do your job and everybody's doing their job, we should make a lot of sense.
I'm about to give an unpopular opinion. You just mentioned big fish, small pond, big guy versus little guy, bumping up stars because of where they're at or who's recruiting them, or maybe even their last name. Perfect example to me, Arch Manning. He's playing at a 2A school. Yes, he's got the mechanics. Yes, he can throw the ball very well. But if you look at who he's playing against, the defensive linemen are the size of Alabama's defensive backs, if they're even that big.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, didn't Odell Beckham go to the same school? That's not fair. Odell Beckham was a dog.
Odell Beckham was a dog, though, and you know that.
Oh, I'm just saying, you can't just look at the competition and be like,
if he didn't have Manning as his last name, would he be getting all the hype and all the publicity he's getting right now come from a 2A school?
I don't know. Maybe that's the case. The only problem that I have with it is that's just not the reality that we live.
Wow. I'm so with you on that, Justin. I'm with you. I'm like, cause I'm like, man, Bama we got so many different players, man, and ways to develop who we got. I wasn't concerned about losing Manning or the other guy. I just wasn't. I think I'm just damn ready for football. I'm just ready for it to start. Let's shut up and let's get those pads on. Let's see what's really going on. Because that's where I am with it right now. You know, that's just it.
I'll be honest with you. Looking at Eli Holstein, who we just got, and Dylan Lonergan, who we just got commit from yesterday.
I think Lonergan's probably better, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So Justin, I gotta ask you a question. So what was it like playing against all these 4 and 5 stars when they were padding their stats against y'all?
They didn't.
I seen that video of you running out the tunnel in your high school and you tripped on the banner and I seen it now. You ain't gonna tell me no different. I seen it. You in that black and gold uniform looking like a 5th-teamer with the forearm pads on and everything else. And you look just the same at the end of the film.
You know the biggest difference between me and you is I still have full use of both knees.
Dang. Oh,
wow. Hey, you know what? Hey, honestly, my biggest question for Bama, it ain't about who we lost. My question is the backup quarterback gonna touch the field in it? That's what I'm excited about seeing. That's it.
I do want to bring up something real quick. I'm gonna let Marvin back in. Guys, Peter Woods and the 4-star safety Elliott Washington just decided to go elsewhere. Instead of asking the question, why did they leave? Should the real question that Alabama fans be asking, why did Saban and his coaches not see them as a fit? See, no one's talking about.
I think that's a great question, because Elliott Washington, as far as it, the headlines was Penn State flips Alabama commit, and from everybody else, all the insiders, they were already saying that Elliott Washington and Alabama both had decided that he wasn't going there and they didn't really want him. He just never actually decommitted publicly. So it wasn't really a flip. But I think that's a great question, is what was the mismatch there? I don't know the answer to that, but I think that is a question you should be asking.
Yeah, I think that, like I said,
that's a great question.
A lot of people are missing that whole point, that there is a reason behind all of Saban's decisions. Everything's calculated, everything's thought out. You know, it goes beyond what y'all said, what's on paper. This isn't a video game. This is real people, real lives. So, EJ, real quick, I spoke to you yesterday. You know, I took a clip of what you thought that Coach Bryant would think on the current situation of the transfer portal and NIL, and actually it it went off on TikTok and a few other places. In terms of this whole recruiting battle, trying to win recruiting battles, and what we just talked about, where would Coach Bryant stand on that whole issue?
He wouldn't like it because the mindset was, part of playing football. And when you look at the coaching staff, when you look at the consistency, if you're going to play somewhere, be committed to play there. Now, I do understand coaches leave for better opportunities. They're getting paid. They're trying to take care of their family. A 17 to 21-year-old kid doesn't have a family to take care of yet. I didn't say that he doesn't. But how do you learn commitment? How do you learn consistency? How do you learn how to overcome adversity? If when things don't go your way, you're ready to get out the hot water. There's an old saying, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. And back in our day, the NCAA has changed a lot of rules. You don't have the 2-a-day practices. You have the 21-day rule, but half those times now, as a coach, it's even difficult to even have physical contact. You have to, target the days that you're going to have full pad contact. So the rules are changing. Everything is changing to try to protect the safety of these young men, young ladies who are playing these various sports. But the part of it is, how do you teach them to overcome adversity? And when things don't go your way and you're going to get up and quit, what are you going to do when you got to get a real job? JT with his daughter, he said, if JT was say, well, I don't like my job, I'm going to quit, take this one, and all of a sudden you can't find another job for the next 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 2 years, and how is he going to feed his daughter? That's a concern. So, but if you talk to, hey, this is what you need to do. Your last no may not be the only no, but keep pushing until you get a yes. That's one of the things we learned, how to overcome adversity, because there were games we had what we call gut check. Those are probably illegal now. A gut check is an unlimited scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through checks. I went through 3 my freshman year. And it was after I came off the baseball field, and Coach Bryant said, you're going to play football, you're going to play baseball. And I said, I'm going to play football. Well, I had missed 12 spring practices. And when I came back, they had me at starting strong safety. And I'm in 215 pounds trying to play strong safety. And I wanted to come down here because we played a lot of cover 2. So, I had a pretty game. But then the next day, he had me back at defensive end and said, I want to get you closer to the action. And we had a gut check. I'm like, well, what the heck is a gut check? And Braggs looked at me, he says, you're going to find out. And he wouldn't tell me. And we went through 125 plays scrimmage. And Coach Bryant, he took me out after 75 plays. And I had torn my jersey. I went and got another jersey and missed what was being said. Went back out there, told John Knox to get off the field because, we almost looked alike. But I went back on the field and I participated in more plays. And Mal Moore was the offensive coordinator, God rest his soul. And we were down on the goal line. And I says, man, I was on third team, got moved to third team defense, and I'm still out there. And I think Coach Brown was trying to prove a point. I don't think he knew it was me, but he was trying to get somebody else to compete. And I said, man, quit running at these other guys, run at somebody who can play. And they ran at me, and I made a play. I was so tired I couldn't even wrap up. And Coach Bryant jumped up in the tower and said, hell, I got me another EJ Jr. Slide Crew looked and said, Coach, that is EJ. And he said, hell, I thought I took him out after 75 plays. And after that, I wanted to quit. I had a hissy fit, threw all my stuff in the locker room. I said, this man brought me back out here to kill me, to embarrass me, and I was going to quit. Next thing, Mal Moore walks into the locker room. He says, Coach, the old man wants to see you upstairs. I'm like, oh, God, they got these doggone Walmart video cameras in the locker room. He saw me tear up the locker room. And I went upstairs and he says, when I brought you here, were you first team, second team, third team when you came out after baseball? I said, first team. He says, and you moved me to strong safety. He says, I put you there because I want to see what you were going to do, what kind of shape you were in. That's why I never complain about DBs because they run their ass off back there. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of running. They cover a lot of ground and they have to do it play in and play out. He says, I brought you here to be a leader. And you're a freshman. I don't care if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. If you're in a leadership position, take leadership. And you're a leader, as much of a leader as any of my seniors. And we had seniors. We had, at that time, the seniors were going to be Tony Nathan and, Barry Krause and Marty Lyon. And I was just considered as much of a leader as they were. So we had a couple of more practices, and 2 of them were gut checks. My name, the next time we had a gut check, was exempted from practice. And I went and grabbed my stuff and went out on the field. And he says, well, why are you practicing? You all have been through 3 gut checks. I've only been through 1. I got 2 more to do. And that was the year we won our first national championship. So when everybody talks about gut check, that 1978 goal line stand, that came from pushing ourselves beyond what we were capable of doing to try to make something happen. And I don't see that in today's kids who want to just go from place to place because they can't handle the heat in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. They got to go up there and learn how to survive in that world that don't care about them because nobody's going to give them that.
I do have a question about this.
Oh,
why is it that why do we blame the kids so much? And why do we expect that football is the end all be all to teach the kids something? They're 18. Why is it that their parents are not? You think for 18 years that they didn't have nothing, no adversity to come over in 18 years? Why are we not talking about the parents getting them ready for this? Why is it that we're? Go ahead, Marvin. What you got?
Before anybody answers JT's question, I gotta go. I got a little bit after 8, so I gotta run, fellas.
See you later.
Is that what you stopped him for? Get out of here. Hey man, you know what, man? You know what? Honestly, when I you know what? Football teaches kids beyond parents. It does. I played Central High School under Coach Kelvin Kroom. We are still in contact. He's like a dad to me. And I learned so much from that man. And honestly, he taught me. I didn't play a whole lot. There were guys that were a lot better than me, but the talks that we would have to tell me to keep competing no matter what. In the long run, you will get to where you're going. From you being 3rd string, moving up to 2nd string or whatever, almost 1st string, and no matter what, you're still at practice before everybody else working hard as hell. It may not happen on the field, but that thing of having work ethic is going to translate off the field. And
I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Right. Go ahead,
what I'm asking is, why is it that this problem appears in conversations like this when they're getting to college at the school that somebody likes?
Because they don't have any old school parents anymore. Come on, man.
That's exactly my point. I agree, JT. The parents, it does start with the parents. And to be honest with you, a lot of the reason why the mentality of these kids are existing is because their parents are putting this into their head. I agree.
Exactly.
But then let's look on the other side of it. For a lot of these kids, they don't have that parent at home doing their job. So football, their coaches are their parents. And those people are those coaches. And I'll be honest with you, because I was a coach at one time and I saw it with a lot of kids. Those coaches can end up saving those kids' lives.
I agree.
They are investing in them. They're pouring life in them. And I know, AJ, I know you personally did it. And I know you can speak on how Coach Bryant did it for a lot of people. You, Jeremiah Castile, and the countless list of other guys.
JT, there's a spirituality in everything that goes on, because when you deal with young men who are basically talking from the sense of one-parent family versus a two-parent family, that male figure is not in a lot of those kids' households, okay? So now you have to get a mom who, I'm not trying to knock the credibility of moms who raise their sons, because they're doing the best they can with what they got.
Exactly.
But it takes a man who's going to be, very visible to teach a young man how to be a man. It takes a young man to teach his son how to love a woman, or else they're going to be chasing everything that has a skirt.
Right.
Oh, I definitely agree.
And finding anything.
So as part of the everyday system that we look at, The spirituality is that these young men need to learn how to trust in something bigger than them.
Exactly.
And the first person that they see, if that person, I love Kelvin. I apologize for, him losing his son. Kenneth was a great young man who gave his life, on the line of duty. So he's kind of like a nephew to me because Sly was my coach, and I feel like I'm Kelvin's brother. We were a village, and that village takes care of one another. So if you don't have somebody giving you good sound advice, social media has a lot to do with it. The get mentality has a lot to do with it. Being, watching the rappers and looking at the cars and the bling has a lot to do with it.
Yep.
When you get a chance to be an athlete, and you look at those kids who now are trying to emulate the Jerry Rices, and I know a lot of those guys don't know who the heck Jerry Rice is. But when I look at Doug Williams, I got a chance to see Robert Brazile. Robert Brazile, 2 weeks ago at the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame, seeing Cornelius Bennett, Biscuit, Ozzie Newsome. Those old school guys, when I look at those guys and what they laid on the line to do what they do, and I'm talking about some Hall of Fame, and those are pro Hall of Famers that I've been around. The mentality has changed because you have babies having babies. Every mom, and even my wife has done it with my 19. Well, honey, don't you need to go talk to Coach Fickle about what's going on with Cameron? No. Cameron put himself in this, and Cameron will learn how to get himself out of this situation.
Exactly.
If he wants to play, if they want to talk to him about transfer portal, I told Cameron, you're not transferring. You chose to go to that. If you got to show a stick-to-itiveness, and you got to overcome adversity. When you learn how to overcome that adversity, I guarantee you'll appreciate those coaches trying to teach you what to do. I said, because if you're one of my players, I probably have you on suspension and some other things too, because I don't have favorites. I'm fair across the board. How I treat my sons, I got 6 of them. I treat my daughter, I got 1 of those. I treat them the same. They say I don't have a favorite. My favorite is the one who's in trouble at the time. That's my.
You know what? Now, JT, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Where would you? What do you think you would be without your dad?
That's a great question.
Exactly. No, I'm gonna answer for you. I'm doing this. I know it's rude, but I got to answer it. You had to think about it. Now think about all these players that's coming to college without their dad. No type of direction.
No. I point taken. Definitely understand that. I think that's a great point. I think maybe I phrased my question a little incorrectly, because there's a particular point that I'm trying to dispel that, as somebody my age, it really irritates me, because a lot of people your age say, well, this generation, they do this, the mentalities change, and where my
age.
Hold on. Where did you get this from? Where's mine?
Where's his?
He said your age. What the hell, man? Hold on.
He got old English.
Hey, well, first of all, where's mine at?
Go ahead, right.
Did Justin provide some?
You too young.
This is grown folks stuff right here.
Yeah, exactly. So while I agree that coaching is as a coach myself, it's harder for me to give that perspective all the time, because I'm in this position where I'm weirdly too old to really relate to the high schooler, but I'm also too young to have this experience on how to do things. My daughter is not even 2 yet, right? So I'm still learning things every day. But then I look at, the conversation like this, when you say, okay, yes, kids that don't have the father at the home and the coach is their father figure. Most of the coaches around here are not my age. They're in the generation that's doing a lot of the complaining about these kids. And I'm saying, these coaches and other players are doing all of this about the kids and saying, well, they don't have this and they don't have this kind of mentality. And I'm saying it's your job, not you, Steve Brown, not you, Justin, not you, EJ, because I've heard EJ's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people that are not like EJ who are not doing those things, yet still are in. I mean, we've got people, I'm going to put some of the people in the comments on blast that are still saying the same thing about, well, kids don't want to work. Well, the kids have to learn it from somewhere. And if they don't learn it from the people that are older than them, then they're never going to learn it. And it's not helping anybody to have one generation that was supposed to be responsible for teaching these kids how to do stuff, not doing it, and then complaining that the kids don't do it.
All right, let me say this. It's all about leading by example. Let me tell you something. Kelvin Kroon, he led by example. I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of coaches your age, and they're doing it to get a job, but they were probably raised different, or they're probably there just for the check or whatever. Because I'm going to tell you something, man. Me growing up, coaches, if you got in trouble at home and the coach found out about it, it's like you getting in trouble in his home. You know what I'm saying? Right. Now, in this day and time, I've been on teams or been around teams where the coaches are they're cheerleading with the players. It's like the players and the coaches are like homeboys and buddies. I even seen on a particular college team I was coaching on, whereas the coaches and the players would go out together. Me coming up, that was unheard of. So again, times are changing. And it's like everything is about numbers now. It's not about respect. It's not about honor. It's not about hard work. It's not about integrity. It's about money and numbers. That's it. So that's why you're probably experiencing that. And honestly, dude, I would tell you, man, you are lucky. No, you're not lucky. You are damn blessed to come up with a father like yours, who knows the system, who is a father figure, and who's taught you what you know now, and is still teaching you. So a lot of guys in your position, they didn't get that. They're just going with the flow. They're going along to get along, and that's just what it is.
Right. So, and all my point is I'm saying don't blame that guy for not knowing. Blame the people around him for not teaching.
There's a true question to coaching. And as a matter of fact, we had a retreat today here at Allen University. And Teddy Keaton is our head coach, who's at Stillman down the street.
He was my coach.
So Teddy and I, we got a great relationship. We got LC Coles as a D coordinator, so we got a lot of old dogs on that defense. Yeah. But the question to anybody who really, really loves this game is, why do you do what you do? See, I love this game. You know, I studied engineering. I got a background in public relations. I haven't done anything in engineering or public relations since I got through playing in the NFL. I've been coaching since, I got in administration. I've coached with the Seattle Seahawks. I've coached in the NFL, Europe. But when I got into administration, I started missing the field. But I wanted to give back what was taught to me from Coach Bryant, Coach Donahue, Coach Rousey, Paul Crane, Bill Oliver, those guys, and pass it down from the pro ranks, from the college rank. And I love the HBCU system because of the fact that I grew up in an HBCU family. So that's why I felt like my calling was to minister to young men through a game. I love what I do because it teaches them about life. Coach Bryant told us that when we play. Football is like a game of life. You're going to have some good days. There are going to be some days that you want to feel up, that you want to get up and do anything. Right. But you do it because you have a want to. I love this. Now, do I love this game more than God? No. But God gave me ability to teach. And teaching through this game how to overcome adversity, how to overcome when you don't want to do things that you need to do, how to do discipline, because to take care of your body takes discipline. Not everybody's built to coach. Not everybody.
That's right on that.
You're doing it for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
You said you had a background in what now?
Public relations, and I got a civil engineering background.
And didn't even use it at all.
At all.
That has to, we got something in common. I got a background in porn, and I didn't get a chance to use it at all. I've been calling them folks. I've been sending tapes. I've been doing everything. Them folks still won't call me.
He got kicked off Pornhub.
Doing what I do.
You in trouble.
Yeah, man. I just sent a video of me naked yesterday. Them folks
don't
still
do that.
won't call me. I'm like, come on, man.
He's not wearing bottoms right now.
Yeah, man. So hey, I stay on Reddit, but they still won't call me. So here I am with y'all.
So all I wanted to get out of the conversation, all I was trying to point out was I don't like hearing this generation doesn't want to X. I would much prefer what I think is the more truer statement is this generation was not taught X. And that's why they don't do. It's not they don't want to, it's that they weren't taught to.
Whoa. And some of them don't listen. They still want to do things their way. That comes
but that's with every generation. There are people of all ages that don't want to listen.
So let me ask you this. JT.
Because I'm not listening.
I want to see if you learn something.
You're part of the problem, JT.
From your dad. I want to see if you learned something from your dad. I want to ask you a question, and I want to see if you were listening and watching and paying attention. Let's say you're coaching, right? And one of the coaches from the other team goes and slam the football on the center. The center field. Are you gonna go out there and tackle him? What you doing? I
am not. I learned by example not to do that. See. In that case,
drinking, hold on. JT. What are you doing?
In that case, my father told me, "Do as I say, not as I do." So I did what he said.
He's got a rebuttal for everything, Steve.
Hey, man. Hey, we can't have him on. He one of them new generation kids. He don't listen. He want to do what he want to do.
I also don't have $50,000 to get fined. I mean, that's not a paycheck.
George
for
is
me.
still trying to recoup.
Hey,
got that GoFundMe has $20 in it.
There it is, bro. There it is.
Hey, but I mean, that was a good investment for him. That's revenue that still comes in every now and then. What he calls mailbox money.
That mailbox money is always good money. Oh, you never expect it, but it's coming. That those residuals, I love it.
Yeah, and all I get in the mailbox these days is the IRS telling me I owe money. So
snap.
Yeah,
I try not to go to my mailbox.
Wow.
That's certified letter.
But back to, you mentioned coaches not connecting with players. Like I said, the big thing for Peter Woods, and I'll say what he said. He said Dabo is more lively, and he understands teenage life. He specializes in 18 to 24-year-old men. So what's that based on? He has a certain personality that works for him. Are you saying that in the 30, 40-year plus history of Coach Saban, he doesn't know how to connect with teenagers? He doesn't understand teenagers. He's been doing it for how long? He's been getting them national titles. He's been guiding them to the NFL and also preparing them for life off the field and making sure they're successful people. So
can I start? Can I start, Justin?
Yeah.
To me, it's saying if you want to have fun, if you want to have family structure and this and that, come to Clemson. Saban to me is saying, listen, I don't care who you are. It's about business. It's about taking you to the next level and teaching you the right way, whether you like it or not. And that's just what it is. Mm-hmm. And I've done it so many times. I have a great system. It's been tested and proven. I'm the best coach alive, and I got more players in the NFL right now than anybody. So let's make it happen. As far as you want to come and play and hang out and this and that, this is not the place for you. It's all about handling business. And I'm getting you ready for the next level. Now, to me, again, with Clemson, hey, Dabo, he's doing this with the kids and this and that. That's cool. But what type of results are you getting?
I think the comment here, Blake's comment.
I basically jump on that too, because I really do believe, because what you don't see outside the walls of Alabama is Nick Saban's relationship with his players. Because I think he does have a great relationship with the guys he coaches. Or else they wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
You're going to have those who don't want to be there. I just think that what the perception is when you see Nick on the outside, on the sideline, his demeanor, there looks like there's a disconnect. He gets upset, but you see him always fussing at the coaches. When you see him fuss, how often do you see him fuss at a player? He's fussing at a coach because they're not, something didn't happen, something wasn't taught. Because he coaches those coaches. Those coaches coaches those players. And in a lot of ways, he's like Coach Bryant. And the people thought about Coach Bryant was one of the most meanest, rough. I get the question, how was it playing for Coach Bryant? Coach Bryant was a father figure. He was a mentor. He was a teacher. Kelvin will tell you. Sylvester will tell you. Paul Crane, Jeff Rouse, all of them will say he was a father figure. He was a mentor. When it was business, when we were on the field, it was about business. When we were off the field, we basically had time to talk to him if we needed to talk to him about something, always handling business. And that was the happy medium. I think I caught Coach Bryant at the end of his career when he had mellowed. Now, he wasn't like those Junction boys back when he was younger. He was more mellowed because our senior year, we got white shoes. That never happened in Alabama. We got our names on the back of our jersey in the Cotton Bowl. That had never happened. So
he was at that I don't give a damn stage. hey, Justin, can I say this? Justin, can I say this real quick if you don't mind? Listen, with Coach Saban, when I was coaching at Stillman, we went to it's Central at the time. We went to a football camp, and we would see Coach Saban going off on coaches about technique, and I mean really going off. And we was like, man, this little short dude is going in. Everybody's intimidated. So he walks up by us and he looked me dead in my face. Hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. Do you know I peed down my pants?
I was about to say, did you pee down your leg?
and then after that, he's telling jokes and everything. And
exactly.
And the thing is, man, the jokes were not funny, but I'm laughing my ass off like,
out of fear.
Hey, so I wanna add on more to that because as Blake was saying, that he thought it was an excuse, and then Steve, you're saying, about it, Saban running it like a business. I think both can be true. One, Peter Woods has to give some kind of answer because everybody's asking him. So he's got to say something. But I've had the opportunity to meet both Nick Saban and Dabo about the same amount of times. I've met them both twice. Now I haven't been in company with them for a long time, but I've had very short conversations with them both twice. And Coach Saban is somebody that, you watch on TV from a distance and you respect what he does. You expect his acumen. You almost implicitly trust that he's just making the right decision all the time. If a hire gets made, a kid gets suspended, you're just like, I don't know what happened, but Saban was right to do whatever he was. And then there are definitely many quotes that Dabo has in the media that I'm like, come on, man. Like from a distance, I can see where somebody be like, I don't want to play for Dabo because I don't agree with this, that, and I think the pizza parties are cheesy, and how they go and do the college football thing. Yeah, no pun intended. But the one thing about Dabo is that every time, well, I guess I shouldn't say every time, both times that I've seen him, there is just some aura of welcomeness that he exudes from it, and he doesn't even try.
A crooked pastor, like a crooked. Come on in. Bring your guys.
Last time I saw him was last May, or a year ago, when my dad was being inducted into the Alabama State Hall of Fame, and he was there, and he just, you're just drawn to him. Like, I feel safe, and I'm around. I can just be myself around this dude, and not saying that Saban's not that guy, but Saban has a tinge. Yeah, he has a tinge of he doesn't carry himself that he's better than you. He just has this aura of intimidation of like, he's larger than life. He's one of those dudes that you don't feel like you can just walk up and say anything you want to Coach Saban.
You're in awe.
Yes, you're in awe. So, and then, like you're saying, you see him berating other coaches, and he comes over here and he's all chummy with you. And it takes I believe it takes a certain mindset and a certain personality to understand the differences on how you can context switch in between those situations. And there's some kids that probably can't do that, and that just are easily more welcomed by somebody like Dabo versus somebody like Saban.
Hey man, I literally damn near pissed. I did pee out my pants. I got the pants now. I can go get them.
No, are you wearing them because you didn't pee it already?
I'm gonna get them.
He Scotch guarded his pants. But EJ, you bring up a very good point. I think the only player that I've seen Coach Saban just bless out was that one time with A.J. McCarron. Yeah. Other than that, didn't really see it. And I want to address this point from Kevin Smith. Don't be deceived. Peter Woods is one of the hardest workers on his team. I don't think that's what he meant. No, please understand, we're not questioning his work ethic. Now, we are questioning the statement that Coach Saban, or the perception that Coach Saban cannot relate to his players. Because as these gentlemen have just said, he can relate. He just does it in his own way. He adapts, but he doesn't change his principles. And it works.
Yeah, he just may not relate to Peter Woods.
Just might not in the way that resonates with him. That's nothing wrong with that at all. But yeah, if you go down the list of any player that's played under Coach Saban, they always have something positive to say about their relationship. How
nothing negative. Nothing negative.
How much he genuinely loves them and cares for them. And he jokes, like you say, he jokes all the time. And the biggest thing last season was when Jordan Battle let it slip that he was going around practice all the time telling the D's nuts jokes. So it's just different styles, different philosophies. And, and people may say, well, Coach Saban is getting up in age. He's 70 years old. He just can't relate to the players anymore. EJ, is that true? Because you were part of Coach Bryant towards the end of his career, and he obviously still resonated with you guys.
I think Coach Saban still resonates and basically has a lot of good relationship with his players, because even he adapts, he changes. What type of offense did Nick Saban run when he first got to Alabama? Does anybody remember?
Ground and pound.
What do they do now? Throwing the ball all over the place. So he adjusts his system to fit what needs to be done. Now, like I said, what happens behind the scenes? Nick Saban is still a father figure to these young men. He's a mentor. He's a teacher. He's trying to teach them about finances. He's trying to teach them about making the right decisions, not to do the wrong thing. I guarantee you, he's almost probably Coach Bryant's clone years later. But what people don't see outside those doors, he's very private, in my opinion.
He runs his program like, I know Justin's about to hate this analogy I'm about to make, but he runs it like the Steelers, where things happen inside the program that never get out, and then those problems arise somehow mysteriously when they leave because they're not under that father figure, which is Saban. Saban seems to have he can keep the family together, and I mean we've got many of examples of players that you never thought would have the problems that they had that have left afterwards. And I think that I don't say that to say that Saban's covered things up. I think there's just a way that he runs his program those things just don't happen, or they get corrected quickly. And
I also think too, I think people still have the big misconception, because we're living in a social media age, that we're entitled to know every damn thing. And Coach Saban is blatantly telling you, y'all, it's none of your business. And I don't have to tell you what about anything that's going on. Exactly. And perfect example, he is constantly defending his players. He gives them chance after chance. You don't hear about it until a player like an Ajay Hall leaves and he starts blasting everybody on social media. No, Coach Saban never gave up on anybody. He usually gives them 1, 2, and 3 chances, and then turns it over to his teammates to make the final say so. So he doesn't just disregard somebody like they're used trash or a piece of mail that just sits on your table.
As a matter of fact, he gave Ajay Hall plenty of chances. He's also given the tight end that just left plenty of chances.
Billingsley.
I want to get to this too, man. I just saw on one of the comments, it says, please be reminded about Peter Woods. He might end up at Bama in December. I don't get what. Now, did he sign or did he come?
Well, I don't get that's the thing right now, and everybody just gets so worked up again about commitment. Commitment is just a verbal, expression that you might go somewhere.
It's actually a misnomer. The signed is what you're looking for. He hadn't signed with anybody.
You ain't married yet. That's
exactly.
When you look at a verbal commitment, you're engaged, but you're not married yet.
So it was a verbal commitment.
Signing day ain't until December.
Until he signs that national letter of intent is an engagement. He ain't married.
And he still don't even have to do that.
Okay, I didn't know. Hey, I'm gonna tell my girlfriend to get out. Lisa, get out. I ain't signing up with you. Come on. You got to go. Come on. Go ahead, fellas. Get your shit. Go.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
Get out my mama house. Get out my mama house. We live with my mama. But don't judge me. Go ahead.
But yeah, until the national letter of intent is signed, all this means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So why are people mad? Why are people panicking?
Well,
that's the age
this is
we're
the whole
in.
conversation. Steve, the light bulb just went off for Steve. I'm glad to be here when it happened.
Hey, no, man. What I'm thinking right now, this light bulb is being cracked, so it's not going off. The thing is, dude, I think the whole issue is everybody's just ready for Alabama football. We're missing it. That's just what I think. That's it. That's the whole thing. Everybody's just ready, man. We're ready.
Yeah, the season is close. This is you get the
53 days.
I think this is the biggest lull. Is like the closer you get to the beginning of the season, I think the deeper the lulls go. Because even though it's like abruptly over in January, you still have all of the season recap stuff that you can talk about, and then spring ball happens, and then you get to talk about that and what the team looks like, and then there's just 3 months of like nothing, dead period, and all you get to do is look at recruiting boards and look at people tweet at recruits like they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
and then you get conversations like this where Stephen M. Smith is getting blasted on Twitter for nonsense.
Verbal commitment.
Hey, I want to say this too, and this kind of outside of our conversation. Listen, if you are watching this show, you should tell everybody about the Bama Standard. So far, this is one of the best episodes that we've had. Got a legend.
I'll take credit for that.
We got TJ who does not want to tackle anybody on the 50-yard line for disrespecting the team. This has been a fun episode. If you haven't told anybody about this show, or if you're sleeping on it, you need to wake up. We're coming. This is guys. Thank y'all so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Legend EJ. I appreciate it, man. Thank y'all. I'm not closing the show out, but I just want
it sure sounds like it though. But you got to give the roses while you can still smell them, right?
You got a ways to go.
I'm seeing the question that got some at Lawson saying, do I see similarities in Saban and Stallings? I actually played for Coach Stallings with the Cardinals. Yeah. And Joe Nunn was part of our team. And when I first met Coach Stallings, we were in St. Louis, and his office was across the way, and he wanted to talk to the team captain. We had just had a losing season. Coach Hannafin had gotten fired. So he called me to the office, and I go all the way to his office. Yeah, he's looking at some film. Chair is facing the door. I knock on the door. I says, Coach Stallings, you wanted to see me? He says, EJ, what bothers you about last season? And I'm like, why do I feel like I'm talking to the old man? Because he sounded like Coach Bryant. And I felt like I was actually wondering, was Gene Stallings Coach Bryant's son? Because the same demeanor, they sounded the same, they talked the same. His style of coaching was very similar to Coach Bryant. So when I look at Nick Saban and Gene, I think each has their own idiosyncrasies, but I'm thinking Gene Stallings was more like Coach Bryant than he is like Nick Saban, because he's that middle part now. But he was a great coach. And like I said, Gene Stallings coached Dabo. Mm-hmm. And he was part of that 1992 championship team.
Dabo ain't getting the game, no. Dabo ain't getting the game.
So
Dabo did not get the game.
So many shots.
I didn't see Dabo no damn well at all.
That's when they had them two dudes named Curry and Copeland.
Yes, yes. The second coming.
I heard Curry and Copeland, but I never heard Dabo. I never heard Sweeney. I never heard that. I never seen it. He didn't get in the game. Did he get in the game?
Kind of staying on that subject, EJ. You've had an opportunity to play for Coach Bryant, Coach Stallings, and Don Shula. I don't think anybody can say they play for three legends, icons like that, man. That's just got to be so amazing. Words can't describe.
It would have been nice to win a Super Bowl, and then actually at the end of my career, got a chance to play for Coach Tom Flores after his Super Bowl season with the Raiders. So, and Tom doesn't get a lot of credit for what he did because being the first Native American Jack, Mexican who basically coached football. But coach playing for those guys, they all had the same mindset. They wanted to win. They were tough. They pushed you. They got the best out of their players. Now, there are some eras like when I played with Coach Shula, we still had those Buffalo Bills who went to 4 straight Super Bowls when I was there.
Yeah.
And playing against Biscuit and Bruce Smith and that company. There's sometimes that no matter what you do is not good enough. But being one of those guys who's got a chance to play for some of these great coaches, I'm grateful. I'm really humble because when I look back at my career, my college career especially, I was a good player. I would say I was a good player.
No, you wasn't. You was a damn good player. Come on with all that.
You're in the College Football Hall of Fame, sir.
Come on with all that, man. Come on now.
When I think about the guys that I played with, you think about the Terry Jones, the Dwight Stevens, Tony Nathan, Murray Legs, Martin Lyons, all those guys was just as good as I was. Believe me, when we played in those systems, we played in a system that made us look good if you do their job. I just got a lot of credit for what I did. Because when I'm playing with Byron Braggs, Curtis McGriff, Warren Lyons, we had Thomas Boyd, Randy Scott, Rich Wingo, Dewey. We had great players, man. I wasn't the one who was doing all that. I did my job because they did their job. And it made I got a lot of the accolades. But when you really look back at those films, there are a lot of guys who made a lot of great plays. Don McNeil, if you don't make that play, we don't have a chance for a goal line stand. Major Oakley, who was a running back who probably doesn't get any credit compared to the Najee Davenports and all those guys. But Major was a beast, man.
Running that option.
So we had great players, and I was fortunate enough to just be a part of those games. So when going into the Hall of Fame, I'm receiving that honor on behalf of those generations of players I played with, because they can't all get recognized. There were women in the Brian Hall who cooked us meals. The equipment manager, Jim Goochtree, our trainer. Mr. Edwards, who was our equipment guy. Those guys, everybody had a message to teach.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at this comment up at the top.
Somebody just stop messing with them naps on your. Now you asked a question, Justin, about the coaches that he coached with, as far as the legendary coaches. But it was a coach that came to Bama. He wasn't there a month. I wanted to actually walk on at Bama and play for him because he had players at the strip club and everything. And
is that Francione?
No, yeah, that was Mike Price. He was.
Oh, Mike Price. Yes.
And
Mike Price.
Took him to the Citizens Club, and then
I tried to walk on at Bama. I wasn't even in school. I'm like, what he doing that? Let me try to walk on.
Now, EJ, you gave a lot of those guys props, and deservedly so. But I got to ask the question: as a former track star, were any of them as fast as you? Because I distinctly remember a pick six against Missouri where you housed it and you were flying, and people your size did not fly like that, sir.
That actually was against Georgia Tech. I blocked the punt.
Georgia Tech.
And the thing is, it was a great, I ran as fast as I needed to run to get to the end zone. I didn't. If you look at the film, you don't see me look down because I thought I almost stepped out of bounds. I was this far from stepping out of bounds. And it was, we had a great defensive play, and Coach Donahue made a great call. I just wanted to put in. There were so many of my family members at that game at Georgia Tech. It was just a great opportunity to do some things. But I would say my best play that I would ever that will always stick in my mind. We're playing Nebraska, 1978 in Birmingham. And I tell my kids this, I says, I was so fast, I intercepted a pitch on the option play going the other way. And said, oh, you weren't fast enough. Yes, they kind of ran a wing tee. I was about to hit the quarterback from behind, and I remember Sylvester Croom saying in my ear, stay deepest to deepest. And I was about to hit the quarterback. I pulled off the quarterback and went after the pitch guy. The quarterback looked, and then he pitched it. And then he looked and saw me, and I intercepted it. But I couldn't keep my foot, and I slipped out from under. So on YouTube, says you couldn't intercept the pitch from the backside. I said, go find it on YouTube. And I found it.
I sent it to you, I think.
I'll be damn. I'm out of minutes. Damn.
But no, we had some great teams. You know, I wish the 77 team should have been a national championship team.
Absolutely, got robbed.
From 5th to 1st, you know, and if everybody really wants to go back and look at that Mississippi State game that we lost my senior year, last play of the game, they're trying to take a knee. They fumbled the ball in the end zone, and I ended up with the ball in the end zone. And there was not a referee to be found.
That was God.
It was actually a touchdown because they tried to take a knee. He fumbled the snap because he was trying to get down too quick, and the center knocked the ball out of his hand, and I recovered it. But they got away with that. And then we blocked the field goal against Notre Dame. I blocked the field goal. I told Mike Pitts I was going to block it. And he falls on the ball instead of scooping and scoring. But nobody saw the center tackle Thomas Boyd in the end zone for them to score a touchdown. So they beat us 7-0. And we never did get it against Herschel because that would have been a really good game. I would have liked to see our defense play against Herschel Walker that year.
Herschel Walker. Yeah.
Steve, you got a request from the audience right here.
Somebody from the defense is tell Herschel Walker to shut up. Don't say nothing else, Herschel.
You got a question?
Taking too many hits to the head.
You got a question from the audience, Steve.
I know. I see that. I'm not going to do that.
We'll say
Herschel. So, EJ, how do you feel about Herschel running for public official? How do you feel about that? Because the last time he spoke, he doing football plays. I'm like, hold on, Herschel. I don't think you.
I really hate to say this about a person because I'm not one to talk bad about something. But I remember I used to watch the Three Stooges, and there was a comment made by Mo. He said, when Curly said, Mo, I thought, and he said, Curly, every time you say it, every time you think, you weaken the nation.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Me, when Herschel speaks, the nation is truly weakened.
Hey, man. Herschel be saying anything. Herschel be saying anything. And them people like, yeah, okay, all right. Hey, man.
Guys, we are approaching the 2-hour mark, so I think we need to kind of shut it down, man. It's been an amazing show. I think this is a record for us, actually. We've never gone this
Justin,
long.
Hold on. Herschel about to come in. Let Herschel come in.
Nah, we can't just be giving our platforms to anybody.
You all be nice.
But before we close, I want to pass it around the room to our panel here. If y'all would, tell the fans how they can find you on social media. Steve, I want to start with you. You got something going on this weekend, actually, in Detroit.
Oh, yeah, I'll be in Detroit,
so
Michigan,
I want you to do that.
at Burt's Comedy Club, man. Tickets going fast. I think the second show is already damn near sold out because we got a guest coming through, Herschel Walker. And you can also follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram, Comic Steve Brown, one word, Comic Steve Brown. And I also have my new Facebook fan page because the other one got hacked by Herschel Walker. It's comedian Steve Brown. So y'all do that, man. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you.
JT, tell them about Teague's Take, how they can find that, and then the one social media platform you checking in on every 6 months?
Hey, I mean, when you tag me and stuff, I look. I retweeted yours today. But yeah, I'm a co-host on Teague's Take, which you can find here on YouTube or your favorite podcast player. I am a co-host with my father, George Teague. So if you want to come and nerd out with us about football, you can. You might not get so much insightful conversation like this, but you will get a lot of X's and O's from us. But yeah, I mean, I would plug my Twitter, but I don't tweet much. But if you do want to find me, it's at BamaJ13. I really don't tweet much. I tweet when something happens and I get mad or something. So usually if I see something like Marvin talking about how we should run the ball more on fourth down, and I pull out the stats and say we run the ball all the time on fourth down and we lose yards, I'll tweet about that and make sure that's
in other words, his tweets are all about disagreeing with Marvin. That's everybody's tweet though.
Absolutely.
Hey, Marvin will be like, "Man, it's really sunny outside." I'll tweet, "No, hell, it's raining."
Yeah, I'm taking a picture right now. You see this? Clouds.
Yeah, he pulls out a 7-day forecast.
Hurricane season.
Well, last but not least, EJ, that leaves you, brother. Tell the fans how they can still follow you, how they can get in touch with you, and what's up next for you.
Well, I'm the D-line coach now at Allen University, D2 HBCU in Columbia, South Carolina, and also a resident counselor. But I can be found on Facebook. I do daily inspirationals Monday through Friday. They post it on Facebook, their Instagram. Don't put them on Twitter because basically Twitter don't give you enough space to put all the things that need to be said in it. But if you're interested in me sending them to you personal, just inbox me and I'll get your phone number and I'll add you to my prayer list as well as inspirational. And I can be found on Twitter as ejunior_e, or you can find me at force5439@yahoo.com. Is the best way to reach me.
That's what's up. A great show, fellas. I remind the audience to please go follow us on all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and now we have our own YouTube where we're going to show the replays and a lot of clips that you will not get anywhere else at the Bama Standard. Find it there. Gentlemen, absolutely great show. I enjoyed it. Thank y'all so much for everything y'all provided, and roll tide.
Roll tide.
Roll tide, guys.